afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and welcome, everyone. Welcome to our live viewing audience, proud member of the Education Podcast Network, Voice Ed Radio Canada, wherever you're taking in your shows. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support. And certainly thank you for your positive comments, positive reviews. All of those things help. Speaking of that, I am looking for people for the attention for my YouTube channel. So to subscribe to the YouTube channel, please do that at andrewmurata.com. YouTube, he's very popular on YouTube. He's got a lot of videos, a lot of content. You are in for a treat tonight, friends. You are going to meet Steve Miletto, Dr. Steve Miletto, the Executive Director of the North Georgia RESA. That is an education group there supporting the local area of North Georgia. Steve, I think you're closer to Chattanooga, Tennessee, if I saw that correctly on the map, than Atlanta. You're right there, close to the border. So, but Steve's a lifelong educator and a great guy. We will meet him shortly. And let's have a word from IXL. They've been a friend of the program for some time, and here's a word from IXL.
I'd like to thank IXL for sponsoring today's podcast. Over 1 million teachers use IXL in their classroom every day. IXL is the most widely used online learning and teaching platform K through 12. It empowers schools with complete curriculum, thousands of instructional resources, robust reporting, assessment data, and more. It saves teachers a lot of valuable time with ready-made plans aligned to the standards and the textbooks. Built-in engagement tools like custom competitions make learning fun for students. And IXL's diagnostic is research proven to be a strong predictor of performance on standardized assessments. And the best part, everything I just mentioned is all integrated into one platform, so you can simplify your EdTech tools. Visit IXL.com to lead your students towards data-driven excellence today. The link is in the show notes. And again, appreciate IXL sponsoring today's podcast.
All right. Thank you for that. And again, thank you for that relationship with IXL. And again, in a moment, we're going to meet Dr. Steve Miletto, our guest for today. But let's get started. Our opening concept, it is February 26th. That means it's almost March, right? Here in the Northeast, we're ready for the cold weather to go away, but it's also almost March Madness time. I was a 20-year college basketball official. I lived that life. I never got to the NCAA tournament, but certainly a lot of playoffs, a lot of postseason, and thinking about March Madness, right? Everyone likes the big game. Everyone likes all the hoopla and all that kind of stuff. But when there's chaos, when there is that madness, here are 3 tips that you can dial down that help you have great focus. Whether you're a school leader and it's a busy time of the year, whether you are one of those officials working those games, or just a parent, someone trying to lead as best they can. 3 tips for surviving and thriving through March Madness. Number 1, focus. Dial in on that, right? There's a lot happening in a basketball game when I was officiating, but I would just focus in on that one play. Sometimes people say, oh, how'd you miss that? Well, that's over there, and I'm looking here. I'm focused in. I'm dialed in, right? I'm not bringing it all over. So slowing things down and focusing in on that. Number 2, blocking out the noise, right? Sometimes they say, oh, Andrew, doesn't the people yelling at you bother you? Block out the noise. I'm not saying don't listen to feedback, but block out the noise. I'm not listening to that person screaming from the top row. I'm not listening to that heckling. I'm focused on the work. And lastly, rely on your training, right? I had done hundreds of games. This is almost the 400th podcast. Rely on your training. Steve Miletto, today's guest, a longtime educator, a lot of training, a lot of experience, and you're going to fall back to your training, right? What have you been trained for and prepared for, and then go do those things. So 3 quick tips for March Madness to survive and thrive when the chaos is happening. Number 1, focus and dial in. Slow things down and bring it right to that focus. Number 2, block out the noise. And number 3, rely on your training. Thanks, friends. Let's bring Steve in, North Georgia. Steve, welcome to Education Leadership Beyond, my friend.
Thanks so much, Andrew. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, you got $1 million smile and certainly that voice, man. That voice, the content creator. I appreciate you joining us.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and you're too kind. So,
Yeah. Steve, you just heard the opening concept, right? Which one of those points resonated with you?
block out the noise. that just because I'm listening to you talk about the same sort of thing. I'm like, when you talked about being a ref like that, that's what I was wondering is how you deal with that. And I love that thought there, block out the noise, because that oh my gosh, that can be helpful in so many different ways in all our worlds.
And I love when they do that in the movies, Steve, right? They kind of drown out that noise. I can remember only hearing the squeak of the sneakers, right? And not even hearing anything else, right? Because you were so focused. But friends, this is Dr. Steve Miletto. He's the executive director of the North Georgia RESA. Been there a number of years. Steve, for someone that doesn't know what a RESA is or what an executive director does, give us a little highlight of both of those.
Cool. Well, RESA is a regional educational service agency, and there's a whole bunch of different versions of us across the United States. Most of the states have something like us, where we serve and support school systems that are members of our organization. And so, as an executive director, I oversee a team of consultants that work with our school systems, and we provide training and everything from literacy to I teach a class on substitute teaching, how to become a substitute teacher, how to be successful at it. So, there's any number of things that we do, but it's all about service and support for our school systems. And there's, like I said, there's 16 of us in the state, and there's a whole bunch across the United States that do something like this.
Yeah. And what drew you there, Steve? You were, again, an educator. You were a principal, an award-winning principal. What drew you to be outside of a school and come work at a RESA?
Well, I was looking for something a little different. I went to schools to make change, all right? So I kind of marketed myself that way. And I was the principal in the end, 3 different places. And then at my last one, it's like, it's time for something different. What's the next step? And I got a chance to work in my first RESA, which was at the end of in the middle of Georgia, called the Heart of Georgia RESA, and was there for 8 years. And then I had the opportunity that brought me northward, and I said, "Hey, let's go check it out northward." And I like the idea of being able to serve and support the school systems, figuring out how to help them get what they're trying to get.
Did I lose you there, Steve? I'm having a glitch here.
I'm still here.
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I can hear
you. Steve, looking at the map, am I saying that right? That you are closer to Chattanooga, Tennessee than you are to Atlanta, Georgia?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. We are we're like 45 minutes from the Tennessee line. So and go another direction, just a little over an hour, we're towards North Carolina. So we're up a little ways, which is cool.
And Marietta, Georgia, is the biggest city in Georgia close to you.
Well, that's where I actually live. It takes me an hour to get to work here, and Marietta, yeah, for the most part, yes, that's the biggest city in Georgia, I guess. Canton would probably argue with you a little bit there, but I think Marietta is probably the biggest, closest to where we are. But north of Atlanta.
His day job, friend, is the executive director, again, of the North Georgia RESA. But I just put Steve's website in the chat here. Steve, a lot of creative content, a lot of interesting things you're doing, right? You have a busy day job, but you do a lot of stuff outside of school. You have a podcast. You write a blog. You've created a lot of video content. Tell me about all this content you're generating and what's driving you to do that?
Well, a big part of it is just trying to help others. I mean, I'm in my 39th year in public education in Georgia. And so there's a lot of experiences there and trying to figure out how to share those to help. So,
And how do you come up with the content? How do you come up with the topics and things?
well, lately what's starting to happen is, so I've kind of taken a time out and now I'm getting ready to untime out with some of my areas because I've generated a lot of different ideas just based on stories that I experienced along the way, and then using those stories to help me identify whatever the lesson is that I wanted to identify. And like I'm working on one right now that deals with, I should have known that the school had a rough climate when I got there because of these three things, and that happened to me immediately. And I've got I'm working on these different content ideas right now that I'm going to start hitting with my podcast first, but and then I'm going to share them over on YouTube and some other areas. So, but that's it's all about trying to figure out how to help and share. So, or share and help, whichever order goes better.
Yeah. And Steve, what's your process, right? You noticed something about a school culture. You found three things. Do you go back that night and write it? Do you put it on a post-it note and then do it Saturday morning? A lot of leaders want to write more. They want to share more. They want to help people. How do you actually capture it and then deliver it into a usable format?
Well, a big part of what you're talking about right now is that you have these incredible books that share this. So you got to be talking about this part, but because I haven't been able to turn it into a book yet. I have a journal where I keep thoughts that as I start thinking about this might be a good way to go, and I write in that journal, and then I use another journal to kind of pursue the thought and see how far I can write it out, and that is what will turn into the podcast or into the YouTube video coming up here soon as I start doing some of those videos again. And we've got, but that's a big way that I do it. I have these journals in which I write the idea and then I expand upon the idea to try and come up with it. So like with the climate story, one of the thoughts that I was thinking about is that, from over the years, one of the things that happens is that you experience some things that now they're easy to laugh at, at the time, not so much. But I was interviewing for a job, and this principal says to me during the interview, it's going really well. And he says to me, by the way, when you come here, and this is my first warning sign of this can't be good at this school. He says to me, you need to watch out for the snake pit. And I'm like, snake pit? I'm like 24 years old, right? I'm like, what, do they have a place where you have to worry about snakes in a pit that you got to worry about? And he must have read the look on my face because he says, no, we don't have an actual snake pit. He goes, I'm talking about the teacher's lounge. That's what he said to me. I'm like, huh. So I totally ignored that because I ended up getting, during that year, he got sent to another school and we ended up with another principal. But that was one of the number one keys that I should have paid attention that there's something not right in Kansas here or something, whichever, whatever you want to say. But so I've been trying to take
friends. I put
what's that?
Yeah. I put your YouTube channel in the chat here. I put your website in the chat. I would ask people to subscribe to your YouTube channel. I love it. Miletto's Musings, right? Just these thoughts and reflections, but very creative, Steve, and just really well done. You also have a great sense of humor. You laugh, you notice things, you smile. Tell me about bringing humor and joy into the work that you're doing.
Well, first I got to say this. If you don't find humor in something, it's only going to lead to, hate and anger. And so you got to find something. I mean, my all-time favorite movie is a movie from the 60s called It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World. And it is the goofiest movie ever. And it has all kinds of stars in it from the time. And it's a big chase movie for the treasure and all that. And I have to keep reminding sometimes you just have to remind yourself of this will be okay. We're going to be okay. What's good here? And that smiles helped me do that. And by the way, some other things like I learned, especially as a high school principal, I had a gentleman who worked for me who drove a golf cart to protect us from aliens jumping on our campus or or invasion or the local kids on our campus trying to leave the campus. And that was his job. And he called me on the radio one day and he said, "Hey, they in that county we use numbers for principals. All were one. Like I was 7-1, so I'm 71, and others, there's like one that's an 8 and whatever." So he says, "Hey, 71, can you join me at the front for a minute?" And I said, "Sure." And I get on there, and he says, "Hey," and you have to know he had a little bird in the school. The little bird was his wife, who was a teacher there, who'd been there for a long time. Matter of fact, she finally retired at 52 years at that school. When I was there, she was on her 42nd year, and I named a building after her.
Wow.
She was a brilliant lady, and we connected, and she had no problem being able to, share thoughts with me about things as I was a new principal there, and thoughts about you might want to. Did you say what you really meant to say? Stuff like this. Anyway, so she was the little bird who must have told him that day that I was having a pretty intense day. And he called me out there and he said, "Hey, I know you're busy." He goes, "But if you ever just need to take a time out and ride around the campus for a minute with me," he goes, "I won't even talk to you. You can just hop on the cart and I'll drive you around and then I'll let you off and then we can go." And I got to tell you, that was the best thing ever. That time out. And I learned that once in a while I call and say, "Hey, can you come get me? Because I need that time out." And I told my faculty, I said, "You need to understand something. When you see me in that golf cart, I'm not goofing around. I've put myself in timeout. I'm snipping at people. You don't want to interrupt me. I will be back." Right. And, that's, that's one of those things that you got to have a sense of humor. You got to figure it out. And the only way you can sometimes, if you get a breather and time out from that world and then get to focus on other things, and then go back and take it on if you have to. But I got to tell you that I've tried for a long time. I'm a fan of all kinds of old comedians, everything from Three Stooges, Abbott and Costello, to Peter Sellers and Coming Forward. And, it's sometimes you just gotta have something that reminds you of something there in your office or something like that that's going to help you figure out, take a deep breath and be able to approach whatever it is that you got to approach. And, you never know, down the road, those things that were so serious then are going to become stories that you tell that are now funny.
That's very true, Steve. I'm sure you had some people tell you to keep going on the golf cart, right?
Oh, yes. I'm pretty sure there were several that were like, "Wow, I think he's leaving. Do you think he's leaving?"
Keep going. Well, Steve, that's good advice, right? You take that time out, you remove yourself, you get some fresh air. That's good advice. 39 years. You were an accomplished teacher, a teacher of the year, principal of the year, and now executive director. What are some lessons that you've learned at those different stops along the way? Not only that have served you well in this role of executive director, but that could help other educators now.
Well, as a teacher, one of the biggest things I learned was you got to create an experience in which they're like excited to be in class, and you can't be shy, and no matter. I'm an introvert, but I got to tell you, there's this whole other side of me that with a class, you got to create the plans, you got to figure out what it is you're supposed to be doing, follow those standards, and you got to make an experience that they go, "Dude, he's nuts, but I like it. I like that. It's cool." And I've learned that "dude, he's nuts" is a good thing no matter what position you're in. Because as a principal, that works in your favor too. One of the things that I discovered as a principal that I wanted to do was figure out how to connect with the kids, because too often as an administrator, you're seeing the kids that have gotten in trouble and you're starting to think that every kid is going to get in trouble at some point, which then makes you think about your own kids. What are they doing at school right now? And instead, what you got to do is figure out how to connect with others, so they also start understanding that you're human too. And that's fun. And so how I did that was I played trumpet, and I would play the trumpet in the marching band in the stands during football season, and then in the pep band or in the orchestra and stuff like that in other seasons. And that was a blast. Then another way was I'd play pickup games of soccer and stuff like that with the kids. And And
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you something. That's humbling because they got no body fat, right? They're running around out there. And in the beginning, I was usually picked last. And what was cool was that as some of the kids got older, they started picking me first, which I thought was, oh, that's cool. And they explained we got the principal on our side, man. So, anyway,
I can help them out.
yeah, exactly. But,
Wow.
so connecting with kids is it would be my next thing. And you know, something that goes from the days of being a principal as well as into being an executive director is that you have to hire great people to be around you. And out of that, uh, you noted earlier and that I like to read leadership books and stuff like this, and that I'm a fan of John Maxwell. And one of his books, he talks about having an inner circle, and I think that's so important too. That you surround yourself with these people who are, go-getters who understand what you're trying to go after, and so you develop that circle of trust so that you can have conversations about, real conversations. They feel they can tell you what they think, and you need to be able to tell them the same, what you think is going on, and be real with each other. And I think those are some of the biggest lessons that I've learned out of those 3 stops.
Awesome. And again, we had that picture in the beginning there where you got to meet John Maxwell there. Was that exciting for you? Was that something that, hey man, I've read a lot of his books, now I got to meet him? Was that something that you were looking forward to?
Very much so. I was so excited about that, and it ended up. I'd been to several of his conferences and such, and that was neat because I actually got to have at that time. I actually got to have a couple minutes with him to chit chat, and as he signed my book and so forth, which was excellent. That he would be one of my heroes.
Nice. Cool. What are you currently reading now? I think all leaders are readers, Steve. What are you currently reading?
Well, currently I'm reading, and one of his books that I'm into right now is it's called The 16 Undeniable Laws of Communication. And so I'm working on that book. It's got a lot of great ideas. It came out a couple years ago, and that's one of my leadership books I'm working on. I tend to read multiple books at a time, and so in there I have a fiction book because I like thrillers and horror stories and stuff like that. And so I'm working on the latest Jack Reacher book by Andrew and Lee Child called Exit Strategy. So Jack's awesome. That's an
Yeah.
incredible character. And then one day I want to write a book. And so I've gotten the book called Save the Cat, written by Mr. Blake Snyder. And his book is really about writing screenplays, but I've heard from a lot of different people who've written multiple novels and such. They use his thoughts on how to create action and excitement inside a storyline that makes people want to engage. So I'm trying to see what I can learn from Mr. Snyder there in that book.
Okay. Well, I know we chatted off air a little bit about the books, but I'd love to have the chance to help you and work with you
Thanks.
because you certainly have the creative spirit with the work that you're doing. Steve, a lot of people use highlighters. Some people fold the pages. As a leader, it's great that we're reading, but how do you retain that information? How do you read that John Maxwell book and then say, you know what? I'm going to use this at my next faculty meeting, or I'm going to use this in my next professional development. What's your way of consuming it and then retaining it?
So one of the methods that I use is I underline and I write notes in the side of in the edges and such. But then I take a journal and if you can't tell, I have this theme of journals. I take a journal that it's different from the other one I was describing. And what I do is I write some of the key ideas in there so that I'm thinking about that. And then I start focusing on how I'm using that. And a good example of that is this year with my team, I introduced them to a book called The Wisdom of Oz. And I did similar sort of thing. I'd read it before and I'd made those notes and such. And then I then took it in modern, in more recent time, and I visited the journal, and then I introduced it to my leadership team and said, I'd like us to take a look at doing this so that we could use it to connect us to developing a strategic plan for the organization. And And I got great leaders around me, and they've made that happen. And the book the book basically outlines, and I think an emergency is happening.
Well, you know what that is. I'm sorry to cut you out. You know what that is? That is our bowling team. I'm in an amazing community here. Our bowling team just won the Section 9 championship. So
Cool.
they got an escort back to school. So here they come.
Nice.
There they are. Yeah, this town is incredible. And they come out to support the kids. So this is our bowling team.
Well, that's
Section
awesome.
9 championship here in Port Jeremy.
That's awesome. Congrats on that. They're cool.
A lot of trucks. It really is a special thing they do. So it's such a nice thing there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
They just come back, and our team is relatively new. They brought bowling back. We used to have it years ago, and now it's back. And hey, man, another championship for Port Jervis. So I'm sorry though, they interrupted your points there.
All is good. I was just saying that the book is all about how to understand that you have the ability, that how you create the thoughts about accountability, and it's not a bad word. That it's how you're accountable for for trying to succeed and make change and so forth. And it uses the story of the Wizard of Oz and those characters to explain how that wisdom fits with making change in schools or in organizations. Excuse me.
Nice. Steve, 39 years, again, the executive director of the North Georgia RISA. There's a lot of longevity there. You can't be doing this for almost 40 years now without taking care of yourself, without having a successful routine. So what are some routines off hours that are healthy for you, things that do it? Are you a morning person, or is it an afternoon routine? What are some healthy routines to help you survive and thrive?
Well, one of the things I have to say in answer to your question, I am definitely a morning person as opposed to afternoon. By afternoon, it's got to get evening time before I get my second wind, because the afternoon you start having conversations with me and I'm drifting off. But morning time, one of the things I've learned is, I get up early. I make sure that I have time to eat. I'm going to have a shower that gets me nicer. Not in that order. We're going to shower first, and then we're going to go in and have something to eat, and then. That way I have time, my thoughts and whatever, but later in that day and that evening, I'm going to get time in to make sure that I walk. And the walk helps me also digest the other issues, whatever the challenges were of the day. But one of the biggest things I have to say that has nothing to do with that type of stuff. It has everything though to do with balancing work and home. And that was, making sure that I put on my digital calendar. I made sure that I put on there, be home because, son is doing this, be home because son is doing that, or be there. We're all going to a baseball game as a family, that type of thing. So that so I made sure that if I can put on the calendar other things, I'm gonna put down the calendar, making sure I'm going to keep promises and be there for my family.
Well done. That's a great strategy there. When you say breakfast, are you a same type of food every day, or you kind of open the cabinet and say, "What am I having today?" Are you regular and scheduled with that?
Scheduled, yes. What I have, I'm going to have an assortment of different cereals, not in the same day, by the way. I'm going to choose from cereal. I'm going to choose from oatmeal. I'm going to choose from usually on the weekends when I'm going to have some eggs and stuff like that. But during the week, it's usually something where it's like cereal and a bowl of fruit to go with it. And that's usually something that I have. And then I'm reading at the same time. I'm kind of reading as I'm just kind of getting ready for the day. So
39 years, Steve, what's next for you?
Working on that. Don't know. This is, I'm in the, in the stages of saying, gone 39. What's, what is that next little? And I know that I've still got stuff that's unfinished business here, so I'm going to focus on that. But but I do have thoughts about what could be that next step. And it's part of that has to do with that thought about writing and then, you know, have to keep looking towards that thought. What's next?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good luck with that. You've earned that and certainly done great work as an award-winning educator and certainly putting the time in. Every day in school, Steve, again, whether you're the teacher, whether you're the assistant principal, the principal, every day in schools, give me 3 things that leaders should do.
Number one, I got to tell you, you got to talk with people. Whether it's you got to make sure you're talking with the kids, you got to make sure you're talking with the teachers, you got to make sure you're talking with your staff, you got to make sure you're talking with parents. You got to talk with people. You got to be out there and about to be able to do that. And I think that's a big deal. I think that you've heard me mention this a couple of times. I started using journals when I was a principal, and it was because a colleague said, all the things you're dealing with, I don't know if you write in journals. And I said, what, like a Dear Diary thing? And then he said, no, 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 no. He said, no, no, you just kind of have and all of a sudden it dawned on me when I was in the military, we had these things called after action reports. And, and so I encourage people to do the same thing, which is after action report. What it was we gather around the table and we would talk about the things that went well, what didn't go well, and what we could have done differently to make it better. And so that's what I started doing then in these journals. And I encourage people to do that now is, have a conversation with yourself at the end of the day. If people have left you alone, sit down, and you don't have to write, 3,000 words. You could write 10, you could write 20, it's about having a conversation with yourself about, what went well and what could have gone better and how you could have made it go better type thing. And I think that's important. And, I have to say that, when you are talking with people and saying hi, and when you're doing, when you're having time to chit chat with yourself about what you could have done better, I do think that one of the things that helps is being creative in how to connect with people, so that it's like I was talking about playing in the band, or playing soccer. I have people come up to me random sometimes and they go, I don't know if you remember me or not, but and it's someone who I played soccer with, or someone that I danced in the band with, or something, because if you're in band, you don't just play an instrument, you dance too, things like that. And uh, that's a big deal. And I think you have to figure out what your thing is. And because don't not be you, I guess is my point. You got to figure out what that is. One of my all-time favorites was I did this thing on, we had a big faculty meeting coming up, and I dressed up as I made a homemade kilt. And
Oh,
I had a guy who played the bagpipes, who was a teacher at another school, come out and introduce, he's playing the bagpipes, and I came out doing my own little version of a jig to the to the bagpipes, and that spread fast because I ended up doing that for the kids. And the next thing I know is I have a principal from another school saying to me, "Did you dress in a kilt today?" How'd you know? Anyway, he said the kids text each other, man. So
I
anyway.
love it. And friends, Steve writes a lot of these things, and he also does a lot of videos. Here's his YouTube channel. Certainly take a moment to check it out. You could just type in Steve Miletto on YouTube, but here's his channel. And again, the stuff he's writing and sharing, so good. I love Miletto's music. So there's his information there. I put those in the chat. But definitely check those out, Steve. And kudos to you for capturing those moments in school, experiencing them, but then doing something with them, right? You're sharing them. People can learn from them, and you do it in such a unique and creative way. So kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, kudos. Anything else you wanted to share, Steve?
Well, I got to tell you, this education is a cool career path, and it's been good to me. And I encourage those who are in it right now need to understand that, find that thing that helps you smile and figure out that humor in it, because you're there to help make a difference for the kids and the families. And one of these days, 20 years down the road, you're going to be at a football game or something like this, and someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and go, "Are you so and so?" And I'm pretty sure you're the one who handed me my diploma at the, and it's the coolest thing ever because you make a positive impact. So how's that?
We'll give you the shout button for that. I agree. I concur. I just bumped into a student. I was in another school. It was my former student. She's a teacher there in her third year. And I was like, wow, thank you for choosing education, right? And you feel that feedback. You feel that connection with that person. Like, hey, I helped them when they were in school, and now they're doing the same. So I agree with you, my friend.
Thanks.
Yeah,
that's cool.
cool.
I like the button, by the way. That's nice.
Yeah. I got this thing, and I got this one here. I try to work it in. Give a little round of applause. It's so good. We're gonna, do one of those. Get excited. We'll, do one of these.
Excellent.
So let's do that. Let's start off the rapid fire with this. You ready? We'll start with this. Rapid fire, okay?
All set.
Here we go. Steve Miletto, rapid fire. Last movie you saw?
Mercy with Chris Pratt.
You
Talk
recommend?
about AI. It was good stuff. Yeah.
Last concert you went to?
Kiss at the End of the World tour, their last real end of the tour type thing. They were awesome. They blew up all kinds of pyrotechnics. I loved it.
When you go to a show, do you find yourself, if there's a trumpet person, do you find yourself going towards the trumpet as a trumpeter yourself?
Most definitely. Now I'm a big fan of trumpet players, so I definitely I look for the trumpets. But I got to tell you, when you see a band like Kiss, it's like all I'm doing is wanting them to blow things up and play the songs from the past, man.
Big 80s music fan, wide range of music there. What's the last one you sang out loud in the car?
I'm a huge fan of different music. So the last one I sang out loud was Hollywood Nights by Bob Seger.
Ooh, that's a good song.
I love that song.
What's your last mistake?
Oh man, I'm making mistakes all the time. I just don't want to keep making the same mistake over and over again. So I'm trying to learn from mine, but I mean well, but sometimes what comes out of my mouth, it's like, dadgummit, the brain's going, why'd you say that? So how about we leave it at that right now? Let me off the hook. Because that one just happened like 2 days ago. So
one thing you're going to learn in 2026.
How to write. I'm going to make some progress on this. It's going to go just from ideas. We're
going to help get you there. Again, I wrote about passions in my life and different things, and you have a lot of those. You have the ideas, and we're going to help get you there. With a name like Miletto, what's your favorite dish?
Oh, my favorite dish is pizza. Now, it's not just any pizza. It's pizza with sausage, pepperoni, onions, green pepper, black olives, and, mushrooms, by the way. I almost forgot that. Love it. Matter of fact,
you're going all in.
You got that right. That's my favorite food. I could have that 7 days a week, man.
Now, I know you're in the South, so I say this respectfully, but when you say pizza, you're not going to like Papa John's or Domino's. You got some real pizzerias in Marietta there, or what?
Oh yeah, there's a place called Alessio's, and there's a couple other places that I love. There's a Johnny's that has just good stuff. It's a little like I was born in Chicago, all right. So my flares go towards the Chicago style pizza there, but New York's not bad.
Yeah. Well, a guy like Alessio, I'm sure they're from Brooklyn, so I'm sure it's good pizza.
Good stuff, man.
You mentioned about putting it on the calendar that your kid has an event, right? That's intentional. What's another intentional spend time with family hack? Steve talks a lot about his family. I loved what you said about the calendar. What's another one?
Well, another one is, when you're working all the time, you got to make sure that you're connecting with people because you're going to need their help just like they're going to need your help, and be willing to trade. Say, hey man, I got this thing coming up that I really would like to be at my son's performance in the marching band at this school. And I'm supposed to be down at the other end of the state with our school. So can you take that one for me? And I'll take your next one from you. And you have to be willing to trade off and stuff like that. And, be humble and say, hey, I'm happy to help you out. Can you help me out? Because by doing that, and as a leader, you got to let your people do that. You can't be so stuck on, I got to have this, this crowd at my events and stuff like that. I can let them trade and so forth as long as it's not interfering with what needs to be supervised. But I think that's an important lesson learned, because that my team came through and helped me tremendously, and I tried to help them too.
That's good advice there, my friend. What's a pet peeve of yours?
I hate it when people don't give their all to try and get a task accomplished. God, I hate that. It's like there's so much, when I recently did a series of podcasts where I was talking about jobs I had starting in high school and then in college. So before I became an educator, and my whole point that I get to in the final one is that there's a couple things where they overlap. They taught me at those jobs that just when you think you're done, there's so much more to do, and you're never really finished. So don't sit back and just sit there and do nothing, because you always got something to do. And guess what? It's that way in everything we do in education too. So
The Atlanta Braves are fill in the blank.
well, to me, they're awesome. And I was there when they won the World Series a few years back. And I've been there because my wife and I are season ticket holders. And the last couple of years has been a little rough, especially because we keep running into the Phillies that keep ending our, it's, if you ever watch Seinfeld, how Jerry would say Newman's name, hello, Newman, Phillies. But the Braves are awesome, and they're rebuilding and they're rejuvenating, and we're going to see them back. So, but looking forward to a new season getting just around the corner.
What's a Bobby Cox leadership thing that you took into your leadership?
He believed in his players. One of the things I really liked is that he believed in his players. But I got to say this. One of the things I thought was awesome about him is that, he set a record that can't be broken anymore, or probably will never be, because if he thought his players were being wronged, he was out there on that field in the face of the ump. And the best story ever I heard was, I don't know if you know who Andrew Jones is. He recently made it to the selection for the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame,
and he was signing at some event where my family, we'd gone to see him. This was before all that happened. And my son was chit-chatting with him, and my son asked him, said, "Can you tell me a story, that happened between you and Bobby Cox?" And he said, "Oh yeah." He goes, "I love working with Bobby." He said, "What was really awesome," and this sticks with me, because he said, all you had to do was go, that ref, he keeps calling it far outside. And he said, that's all Bobby needed. He'd be out there in the guy's face and then getting ejected. And what a neat thing. And that's I've adopted that as mine. So I like that. That's cool, because you saw it all the time. That's why he got thrown out for arguing. He set this record, and it was because he managed for so long. And now they only argue so much because they only got so many challenges.
That's right. That's right. Something about Steve Miletto that people do not know about.
I don't know how to answer that question. I'm a little, it's, there's nothing better than getting time to just be outdoors. And I love to fish. Now, there's people who know that idea about me, but it's one of the things that I love about fishing is I don't have to catch a fish. Now, I love catching a fish. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing better than having that fight that takes place and all that, and then bringing them in. But sometimes it's just being there on the water, looking at the water. You put some bait on the hook, and you're just thinking about nothing. And I love that.
My friend Steve Miletto, Dr. Steve Miletto, North Georgia RESA Executive Director. If you're watching live, friends, jump in the chat, say hello. Steve is an educator that should be celebrated, and certainly was great today on the podcast. Steve, how about a quote? I'm a quote guy. You shared a bunch of great stuff today. What's a quote to end the show?
Well, one of my all-time favorite quotes is credited to Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it goes like this: "Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail."
Steve Miletto, my friends, let's give you a little round of applause there for that, Steve. North Georgia RESA, again, check him out. And here is his YouTube again. You can subscribe there. And all his content, all his stuff is on his website, which is also right there. Steve, great show. And it was an honor to be on with you, my friend.
Thanks so much. It's great talking with you again, Andrew. You have a great afternoon. Thanks so much for talking with me.
You stay on the line because we're going to talk about book writing with you a moment, and we are going to sign off here on the podcast. Again, I opened with March Madness, my time as an official. And if you'd like these for your team, reach out. We'll get them personalized to you. A lot of lessons in there related to officiating, but really related to leadership. So, Steve, thanks, my friend, and keep surviving and thriving, okay?
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Andrew.